So one of your many hats, well, I guess your main hat really, is here at Rowan as a trumpet professor.
Right.
So right now it's February 15th. We're right in the throes of college audition season. So what do you look for in an applicant, both on paper and musically on the horn?
Someone who's just super enthusiastic about being a musician, whether they want to be a performance major or a music ed major. If they want to be a music ed major, I'm a little bit more stringent with the application process. I want them to be a little bit more prepared. I want them to be a little bit more excited about it. I want them to be a little bit more invested in helping students become great musicians, and that means helping themselves become a great musician. So for performance majors, I know that there's a drive there, and I know that the industry will, if they don't have that drive, the industry will push them off into something that's easier, like med school. It's the #1 major accepted into med schools is music. So if you're a performance major and you really don't want to put in those kinds of hours, you can do something else. There are a lot of teachers out there that have not worked that hard because I'm just going to be teaching. And I think that it's really important that we turn out great teachers who are great musicians. So I will be a little harder on my application process for music ed students. In fact, I've let students in as performance majors and not as music ed majors because they've proven that they're willing to do whatever it takes and never take no for an answer. Then they've gone over into the music ed track, which is what they want to do. That's their passion. So the ideal student is someone who's just totally enthusiastic about music and wants to be great at music in whatever track that is. I'll take a lot of different students. I'll take a chance on a lot of students. So if students have an embouchure problem, I will take a chance if they understand that they have an embouchure problem. So I've actually had students come in and play okay and say, look, I know that there's something wrong here. Can you help me fix it? Well, that student I definitely want to work with, because that's a fun challenge for everybody. If they're up for the challenge, I'm totally up for the challenge. Have other students who come in and play great, have no physical issues, and we're just working on music and expanding the repertoire right from day one. And that's also really fun to do. I also have lots of students who want to teach in the public schools, but also want to play on the side. So we're talking about how you design a life balance with pursuing your passion, and in both areas, which is totally possible. It's just very busy. But they don't call it working music, they call it playing music.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a lot. We do a lot, and we're focused every day, but it's really important that we recognize that it is, at the end of the day, getting goosebumps from our job, which is kind of a cool place to be. So the ideal student is excited and then well prepared. A lot of students will come to me for a lesson beforehand, and then they will come to me for a lesson afterwards. And I teach free lessons for students who are looking at Rowan for school, any number of lessons. And I teach free lessons to my students whenever, on breaks, on summer holidays, whenever they need. And I think it's important just to get a feel for, what they can expect. A student will also come, if they're trying to decide where to go, they'll come for a shadow day, they'll go to ensembles. I give my students money to take prospective students to lunch. We don't coach the students on what to say. It's just a chance for everybody to figure out what's actually happening at Rowan, how they want to relate to each other. I'm not totally convinced that it matters where you go to do your undergrad, or really where you go to school in general. It matters how you play. And if you need somebody to help you along that path, then find somebody who will help you along that path. But there's a lot of information out there, and the standard that it takes to be a successful musician, that's not really a secret as a player. And so you can probably find that out, and if you record yourself, even just on your phone, you can figure out whether you're there or not, and you can figure out some paths to get there. At the university, we have a cutoff for SATs requirements, but we do have SAT optional. And people should remember that the SAT is only predictive of how you'll do in approximately half of your classes in your first semester in college. It has no long-lasting predictive value in how you're going to be successful in your chosen field. So a lot of schools will get away from it. The reason a lot of schools protect the SAT is because they get compared to other schools, and it's a metric by which schools get measured against each other. It doesn't have anything to do with how good or bad the students are. It has to do with how the schools relate to each other. At Rowan, we've come to recognize that what's really important is our students, and our national ranking will increase because we have great students and over time, but that we want to invest in students. So there is an SAT optional for students to come to Rowan. It helps if you're smart in life, but the most important thing is that you work hard and you're willing to work really hard. That's the most important thing. That is the recipe for success. And everybody makes mistakes. And as long as you're willing to work extremely hard, you can get there on the other end.
So the number one thing you look for in an applicant is just work ethic, to make sure that you get someone that's going to show up every day, ready to go on the horn, ready to go to the woodshed.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the number one thing.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if they come in and they, mess up a little bit here and there. It doesn't even matter. You just want to hear somebody play their best. And if they chip here, chip there, it's fine. You just want somebody that's going to show up every day and put the hours in.
Yeah, that's for me. Other places require, crazy audition list. I think that's a way to whittle down the applicant pool. And there are tape rounds for places, and that's fine too. I want somebody who's willing to work very hard. If you make some mistakes in your audition, if you're nervous, fine. We can deal with all of that stuff. That's not a problem. I don't need you to be a fully fleshed out concerto soloist when you come to Rowan.
Yeah.
Come to Rowan. If you're already that, you should not go to school. You should go start working and make it, instead of paying somebody tens of thousands of dollars to teach you what you already have. Yeah, I want people who are willing to work hard. It also helps, I want people who are really nice and will get along with their colleagues. I think it's really important. Music is not something you do in a vacuum. You can play solo, just unaccompanied pieces, but the vast majority of what we do is communal, and so we have to get along with each other. You have to know how to negotiate when you're playing principal and somebody's playing second to you and their pitch is throwing you off your game. You can't be a jerk about that. You have to work with them. Likewise, if you're playing second and you need to help the first player sound better, you need to adjust your pitch. You need to ask them for help so they can help you find where they're going to be. But it's a communal project. Maybe in the art world, it's not so communal, right? You do your painting almost in a vacuum. You do your sculpture almost in a vacuum. But everything we do is about community. And so in the studio, everything we do is about community. We compete against each other. We have blind auditions every semester to get into ensembles. But it's a team. We're all in this together. We're all learning together. We rise and fall together as a group. And that's, I think, really important. So if a student is throwing off some weird vibes, and I haven't really had it, actually, to be fair. Students are, by and large, really neat and nice people who come to Rowan and want to be part of what we have. So I haven't had to filter out very many. It's a communal atmosphere, and I think you can feel that when you come to campus as a prospective student, the audition day, or when you come to a shadow day. And so for me, that's really important for the community aspect, for the studio aspect.
Well, I know you've given me even a lot to think about. I know there are a lot of people out there that are going to think a lot about everything you've said. So I just wanted to thank you again very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this for us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.